Hey, you guys, it's Lula. We're here to talk about minding your muggle. And the reason why this is happening is because food has been such an issue for me, an emotional issue for me since I can remember. Coming from both sides of my family that were big food people, my dad's side, many generations of sausage and sausage makers, restaurant owners, butchers. My mom's dad's name is Metzger, which means butcher in German. And so food is just a really big staple for me. And now, like being, knowing like I'm a kitchen witch, it makes me realize how much it's a part of me and how much it's molded me as a being. And the other day I was talking about sugar being my mistress and what a whore she is. Well, I say that because, it's, not to protest too much, right? Like if we're saying something that we don't like, or we're really not liking something, it's something about ourselves that we're finding in it that we don't like about ourselves. And so just now, I'm having a really rough day. Today is my dad's birthday. And if he were still on this planet, he'd be 69 today. And it's interesting. It's coming up on 5 years that he died. And it makes you realize, like, with each year, and whether he died on, or his birthday is February 28th, but he died on May 28th. And then I met Ed on May 17th, and his birthday is May 28th. So I've got like this really pull to 28. And then it dawned on me recently that my great nephew was just born, and he's the next generation, and he's male, and he was born on 12/28/18. And last year I wrote this big thing about my dad, and it was February 28th, 2018. And it was really profound to me. And now I find it interesting that my niece Alyssa had a boy on 12/28/18, like right at the end of the year. The last 28 there can be. And coming off of Sag energy into Capricorn energy is really, really cool, because you're getting all the awesomeness of Sag, and then like all the like strength and capability and knowing and adult. I always think of Capricorns as the adult sign of the zodiac, so what a special little boy he's going to be. Anyway, I digress. So I started thinking about food and my dad, and like I was crying today, and every year, like I said, every year is different. Every birthday is different. Every death day is different. And now that my dad's death day is Ed's birthday, it's something for me to enjoy instead of something for me to be sad about. And there are no accidents, right? So anyway, I didn't want to eat. I had a little bit of granola for breakfast, but I just wasn't feeling like eating. But we get to the point your muggle needs to be fed, right? We got to feed the muggle. And so what I'm finding is we're feeding the muggle, but we're also feeding the emotions. So we need to find a way to feed the emotions with the muggle, around the muggle. Do you know what I'm saying? For instance, I was like, what do I want? What do I want? And I'm so hungry now, and there's so many choices because I made a lot of food this week that I'm like, what do I want? What do I want? So I had a few bites of this. Hold on. I'm coming back. I forgot to put this out. I had a few bites of this. My dad would have been really proud. I made this this pickled this spicy pickled cabbage thing. My dad would, I know he's happy. And then I made this kimchi salad, which is phenomenal. But then I also made this the other day, and it's this like really amazing tomato ragu. I don't know if you could see it without me pouring it out. But this amazing ragu, this vegetable ragu. And then I had made these homemade polenta, like they're almost like kind of like patties, And so this is my comfort food, my ragu, and this is like my comfort food because it's been so fucking cold. And like, anyway, so I was like, what do I want? Well, my heart wants this comfort food. But the truth is, yesterday I had a whole can of black beans throughout the day, which that's a lot of beans. I had a whole avocado, which I'm still easing into my diet. I didn't have it all at once, but it doesn't matter, Anyway, I woke up this morning, I felt sluggish. I'm like, I feel like shit. So I just had a little bit of granola that I made myself with some almond milk, just a little bit. And then I was just drinking water. Well, it's interesting because I feel like my dad is like, eat this food. And then when I started like tasting the food, I remembered this beautiful program that I watched the other day. And I'm never going to remember what the name of it is, but if you are interested, I will find out. It wouldn't be that hard for me to find out because I can see like what I've watched. But because there's a plethora of channels, I was going through the Food Network because I was like, oh, maybe I'll find some like new recipes or something like that. And I found this, I think it's like, it's about chefs all over the world. And this particular episode, there was a plethora of them, many seasons. And I was like, oh gosh, I don't know. And I was just drawn. I saw this beautiful Japanese kind of like tea house, and I was really, really drawn, or it looked like the top of a tea house. And I was really drawn to it. And then when they were showing the preview, I'm like, oh, they're monks. And I was like, what is that? And so I was really drawn to it because I've wanted to be a monk since I was a child. I don't know why. I mean, I know why now, but then it was just like, I mean, coming from my Southside Chicago, background, you would have never, it's not like, we weren't Buddhist or anything. So like monks wasn't something that was like, on the surface. But anyway, I watched this episode and it was about this monk, and she's a chef, but she only cooks for the other monks. And aren't they lucky? Because all of these like huge, now I guess she teaches, and I don't know her name. Maybe you guys know who she is. If you know her name, put her name down there. I want to go study with her. I actually was like, I literally watched the show and was like, I want to write her a letter. I'm like, I want to write her a letter and ask her if I can come study with her. If I can come live for as long as she would tell me I'd have to go. If she was like a year, I'd be like, okay. If she was like 6 months, I'd be like, okay. If she was like, I think you can get it in a month, I'd be like, cool. If she said 5 or 10 years, maybe not. Maybe when I'm older, but like right now, I still have stuff to do. But her extraordinary gift is that she goes with the flow, and she grows all her own stuff. It's all in nature. And these like top Michelin star chefs have had her cooking and have been to her place and seen her farm, and they're like, there's no one like her. They're like, she's like, that's her gift. And she knew when she was like 17 years old that this world that she was growing up in was just not, it didn't sit right with her. So her mom died, and she was telling the story about her mom, and I'm like bawling because it was, just a few days ago, right before, my dad's birthday. So of course this whole week I feel like the whole month of February like leads up to it, because my dad, it's February 28th. And he always used to joke and say, I could have been born on leap year. I could have only had one birthday every 4 years. I used to talk about that all the time. So I also took on this Soul Tarot challenge that's on my Instagram page, Lula's Labyrinth. That was phenomenal. It's in my stories. It says 28 days Soul Tarot challenge. And that's been life-changing. This experience of this house sitting's been life-changing. And I'm about to go off social media. I'm going to keep this channel, but I'm definitely going off of Instagram. My page will still be up, but I'm going off of Instagram for the whole month of March. I just need to. It's just time. To me, it's become like Facebook. It's just the same thing. People comment and everything. I'm just like, it's cool. I like the interaction a little bit, but sometimes I'm like, I just want to put a picture, or I just want to say something. It's like, if you're going to say something profound, that's great. Or you want to say something loving because you know me, that's awesome. But to be like, rep my brand, blah, blah, I'm like, fuck off. But I want to like keep it social. I want people to be able to see it because I don't know who I'm going to reach. I don't know why, so I've always been told by Spirit to be an open book. That's who I am. But anyway, so getting back to it. So I'm watching this thing, and I'm watching this woman, and she kept calling it temple food. And I was like, temple food, what does she mean? And then I was watching her cook things, and she said, there are 5 ingredients that you never ever use in temple food. I think she called it temple food. I maybe, if it'll come to me if I'm saying it wrong. And I was like, temple food? What? 5 things were no garlic, no onions, no shallots, no chives. What's the 5th one? But anyway, these are all things I use on a regular basis. And all of a sudden it occurred to me, because, I also want these delicious homemade brownies that I made. This is what's left of the brownies I made on Monday. Now, mind you, I make small batches. But I had a bunch in here for my sister witches for our brunch yesterday, but leave me alone with a thing of brownies all day. What's going to happen? Nobody's coming over. So I started thinking about that, and I'm like, yeah, that's another reason why I felt sick yesterday, right? Because I'm eating fucking brownies all day. And again, they're more healthy than your standard brownie. It's more like coconut flour and almond flour, but shit's heavy. It hangs on you. So she was talking about how much food changes us. And I know from my experience when I got pancreatitis and I had to completely revamp and change my diet. I had to learn so much about food. And I didn't think I realized it wasn't an accident that there were so many gut busters that had come into my life in that year. And I learned so much from them. Oh, Jane Casey, find her on Instagram. She's amazing. But all of these people taught me so much. And my beautiful sister, Deanna, was like cabbage, cabbage, cabbage. And my dad was always about cabbage and like the old food, because my dad's family's German and Polish. So it was all about, the krauts and canning. And, my dad came from a big family. My mom came from a big family. They had to make their food stretch. So I've learned to do that too. I make things in big batches. So I have a lot of it and then I can eat it or freeze it or whatever. But this diet, it made me realize like we eat by emotion. So if we're eating according to our emotions, then we have to be wise in our thinking, right? We have to be wise in our thinking. So now I'm like, I was thinking about this and I was like, this is really good. I'm like, oh, this is probably like the temple food. And I'm like, no, it's not. There's garlic in there. I was like, no, there's not. There's onions in there. I was like, fuck. I was like, but I love all those spicy, tasty things. But she was saying that peppers are really profound. And there's peppers in here too. Like red pepper, flakes and stuff, chili pepper. But learning about this food, this different type of soul food, she was explaining how it connected her to spirit. And that all she wants to do is like grow food, get food. Like when she wakes up, it's like prayers and making food. That's her day, every day. That's how she finds God. That's how she lives with God. Like that's God, the creator, consciousness, whatever you want to call it. But it was really profound. And I knew it wasn't an accident either, because there were so many choices. And, I saw a Eiffel Tower, like one or two above her. I'm always drawn to Paris. I love Parisian cooking. I love Parisian style of anything. But but I'm also drawn to the Asian culture very strongly. And so I'm realizing, my childhood stuff, when we want the heavier foods, I want the corn, we want the sugar. We're craving the sugar. I said to Josh a few weeks ago, I go, you know what I find interesting? I go, almost every healer or profound healer, prophet that I know that's really connected, spirit warrior, light worker that I know that's really divinely connected are sugar freaks. All of us are sugar fiends. I was trying to say freaks and fiends at the same time. Or caffeine. Luckily, caffeine's not my friend. I don't like the way caffeine makes me feel. It's, but that's when you realize how different we are as entities. So I don't like the way caffeine makes me feel, but I love sweets. I love chocolate. Give me some dark chocolate. Give me some cacao. I'm all about it. In fact, last night, I was like, man, I should have put cacao nibs in these brownies. I'm like, next time. And I've been like, no more sugar. I can't have sugar. No more sugar. And I'm like, no, I just have to really tune into my emotions and use the food as a healing tool, because an old friend used to say that she black boxed everything. Like if she couldn't do it, she'll go, no, it's just black boxed. And I'm like, what is, I remember the first time she said it, I don't know how old we were. And I said, what does that mean? And she goes, oh no, that means it's in the black box. And I don't go there. I'm like, why? And she was like, because I can't. Like she knew that was an addiction for her. She knew that was a trigger. And she was just like, nope, that goes in the black box. And I've been like that too. And I've been, I'm like, I better eat yesterday. I was eating the brownies like a fucking crazy person because I'm just like, when am I going to have sugar again? And I start to feel crazy. I have to realize that certain foods don't belong in our diet. So eating temple food, which is what I'm going to teach myself how to make, is going to be my staple food. And then because not to throw flowers on myself, but I'm a really good cook and I'm a hell of a baker. I'm becoming a really good baker and I'm learning and I'm trial and error, because I'll tell you what, I learned with baking, you got to measure that shit. Cooking, I mean, I'm a fucking Sag, man. I'm like Sag. There's so much Sag in my chart, it's ridiculous. And my moon is in Scorpio, so I want to flow like water. So when I'm cooking, there's a dynamic that comes into it. And I like my garlic and I like to spice it up. But I'm also finding that because I'm such a profoundly sensitive empath, the food affects every part of me. I was talking to my brother the other day, and he was saying, I just don't understand why this is happening and that's happening. I was talking about it yesterday, and I was like, your food, I'm like, everything. And they're like, yeah, but this is this or that is that. I'm like, it's everything. It's everything. When you awaken, it awakens every part of your senses. So we have to be connected. We have to be divinely connected. And I feel like my dad is working through me right now because my dad was a magician. Looking back now, it's like I have this profound ability to talk to my dad, and like he's been helping me work through so much stuff. And I know in my heart of hearts, like my dad, he gave his life to so many of us, and he may not have done it in the best way, and I know he was a shit and he did a lot of bad things, and when he was younger he did a lot of bad things when he was using. But in his later years, like I had the privilege to like get to know my dad, and for my dad to really understand life and himself and his path and his journey and all that. And so the greatest, I got nothing. My father's wife was horrible in the end. And I know I shouldn't speak ill of others. And please forgive me, Dad, because I know you loved her. I love her because I know that deep down there's a beautiful light being in there. But some of the things that went down at the end with my dad's death were really gross. And it's been almost 5 years, and there's still been no. I tried to reach out, and then I was like, you know what? No. But anyway, I don't have pictures. I don't have anything of my dad's. I don't have one thing. I don't possess one material possession that was my dad's. And to some people, they're like, oh, but it's about non-attachment. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I don't really have that. And I was suffering for the longest time. And then I realized something. I have more of my dad than any trivial material thing anybody could ever have. So her and those people who knew my dad, like they can keep all of his material things. They can keep his money, because it was never about that. It was about that I just wanted that connection, that last connection to my dad. And what I realized talking to my dad today was I have him. He lives inside of me. He's in my face. He's in my eyes. I look like him. I mean, I carry on his legacy, and I'm going to carry on his legacy of good food and his canning and all that like good stuff. I mean, I feel like I'm now finally coming into the chef I always wanted to be. So the other reason why I'm stepping back from Instagram is that my photography is one of my many obsessions. I love taking pictures. I love capturing images. I love when people look at my pictures or videos of waterfalls and they're like, oh, dude, thank you. Like, I'm in the city. You don't know how much that means. Or, I love being a prophet that way. But what I'm realizing is this is how I'm supposed to do it. Not through there, through this channel, like this, doing things organically and doing it live. And like, if people come on, then they come on and it's meant to be. If they don't, it's just for me to put on here and not clog up my phone with videos or worrying about how much time I have, or, because it's all about me being real. I want to be real all the time with you guys. This is it. I'm finally putting myself out there because it's time. It's time. And, I had that sad post of me singing, and then I wrote that thing about my dad. And my dad was kind of writing it with me. And at the end, that was him. I heard him in my head. And he's like, you had the magic all along, But I had to mold myself. I was given tools from my family and my friends growing up, but I had to mold myself. I had to remember who I was. I had to go through all these stages. I had to get hated, trolled, made fun of, which is why I was always such a huge supporter of the LGBTQ community. And now the trans, like, not now, but like, that wasn't so prevalent. But now that but I mean, I'm 47. When I was in high school, there was so many of my friends, I knew they were gay. I knew some of my childhood friends, I knew they were gay before they did, And so I loved them, and I saw their struggles, and I knew what they were struggling with. We just didn't talk about it. And then when I did out one of my friends, and I didn't do it in the best way, but I did it because I was like, I love you. Like, I don't care, man. Like, that's who you are. Like, just say that's who you are. Stop trying to be something else. Just be that, because you're awesome being that. And that's it, you guys. I just want you to be yourself, whatever that is. And if you need to black box things, thank you for that analogy, Lisa. If you have to black box things, then that's cool. You have to do what's right for you. But for me personally, I'm starting to realize I don't think that is going to work for me, because balance is key. And I crave wine. And I do believe that at some point, not now, because I'm still working through a lot of demons, but I do believe at some point I will be able to drink wine again. And I've always pictured myself retiring on my own vineyard in my 60s and making wine. And I pray I see that day. I pray that happens, because I believe I'd make some magical, beautiful wine. Maybe I can make some I just heard cannabis. I was like, oh yeah, maybe I can make some cannabis wine breed of wine, something that's takes you to another dimension. Shrooms. Well, I'm not the only one. There's probably someone doing that right now. And hopefully by then they'll perfect it and then they can teach me. So anyway, thanks for stopping by. I just wanted to talk about food and feeding our muggle. We have to mind the muggle. We have to take care of the muggle so that the muggle can take care of us, because this is the house that houses our spirit while we're here on this human plane. And, Instagram, my thing with that is, because I'm such an overachiever, I find myself, I don't scroll so much as now. The stories are more, because now it's and these are people that I know, people I look up to. It's more maybe I'm not doing enough. So it's not that I go on there and I'm seeing bad shit, or I'm following bad people. If anything, I'm overwhelmed. I'm inundated with positive stuff, which is great, but it's also coming from each individual's level of consciousness, and they may be, we're in different places, so if we align, then it's great. If we don't, then I'm and then I find myself judging it. If we don't, and I'm then I'm oh, what am I doing wrong? Maybe I should try harder. And there's a real fucked up dichotomy there, So this is a way of us actually truly connecting, and, not me being on there and, being for $24.95, you can come in, woo, I'll throw some tarot cards down for you, that just doesn't work for me. I'd rather you get something from this, and then if you want to work with me, you reach out in my information here, and you're hey, Lula, I want to work with you one-on-one. So yeah, feed the muggle, mind the muggle, but mind the muggle with food that is healthy for the muggle, to keep it in a healthy muggle mindset. The temple food is probably better for us when, this isn't specifically temple food, but using it as an example, I believe the temple food is the food that I believe would probably be really good for us on an everyday, daily basis. And then, once a week, this, maybe twice, once or twice a week, this, maybe really once. But the heavier foods, they just kind of drag us down. But in the winter, or gearing up for winter, I know for myself, last year I was starting to get skinny again, and I was because I was just going, and then before I know it, I'm shit, I didn't want to be that thin again, and so I started bulking up, and then I was oh wait, now I'm getting too heavy, and I was trying to find the happy medium. But when you live in a cold climate, of course you're going to want to eat warm, hot foods and not a cold salad. But you just have to find a way to make that work for you. All right. I've said too much. Thanks for listening. Have a blessed day, and I'll see you guys.